Today's conversation is for that man who is building something. Maybe it's a business, a team, a family, a dream that God has placed in your heart. But here's the tension. A lot of people know how to grow something. Not everybody knows how to grow something healthily because revenue can go up while culture goes down. Business can look successful while the leader is exhausted and burnt out. And that's why I'm really excited for our conversation today. See, my guest today is Todd Krause. Todd has over 30 years of business experience. He's built and scaled companies, worked in finance and operations. He's helped business. He's grew the cleaning authority Fishers from 1.8 million to over 4 million. And now through the Silver Sun Consulting, he's helping business owners grow through leadership, systems, and culture. But I really want to talk about today is not just that scaling aspect. Obviously, us as business owners, entrepreneurs, we love to hear that idea of scaling. But I want to talk about what success exposes in a leader, how culture can get built, how systems can create freedom, and how to build something meaningful without yourself losing yourself in the process. So Todd, I just want to welcome you to the Better Than Best Academy. And I'm so excited to dive into this conversation. But before we get into the business and the scaling and the consulting and all that, who was Todd? Who were you before all of this? What shaped the way that you see business, leadership, and success?
Well, first of all, I want to thank you, Red, for inviting me to be on your show. This really is an honor. And who was I and where did I come from?
Hey, Better Than Best fam. Real quick before we dive back in, I hope that this episode is encouraging, educational, entertaining for you. But first, did you know that 98% of the people that watch these videos aren't subscribed yet? So first, I want to say thank you for watching. And two, I want to say hit that subscribe button so you can be the first to be notified when I drop more content like this. Now, let me ask you something. Are you a kingdom-minded husband, dad, entrepreneur, business owner, leader who's tired of battling that constant overthinking, second guessing every decision, or maybe you just feel like you're stuck in a rut or in your own head? If you are, I want to personally invite you into my private community, the Better Than Best Brotherhood, where we'll go deeper. Here is the truth. Your family doesn't need a perfect man. They need a present, confident, faith-filled, Holy Spirit-filled you. So if you're ready to stop performing and start leading from your true identity in Christ, click that link in the description, or maybe you'll find it in the pinned comments, and join us today. All right, now back to today's episode.
I grew up in rural Wisconsin, southeastern Wisconsin. My father was a milk hauler. So I really grew up in a family that owned and operated businesses. But from little on, I just got infused with his views on how you treat people and how you take care of your customers and your clients. I would ride along with him. He would be the one who would be in the milk house fixing something, because if it wasn't fixed and the inspector caught it, the inspector would shut down that farmer's operation and say, you can't pick up his milk anymore and ship it to the dairy. And that would hurt his income, it would hurt the business. He was always going that extra mile. He was always demonstrating this extra concern for the people around him. I don't think I realized just how impactful that was until later on in life. And I looked back on how I was going about, whether it was my team when I was part of some larger company and I managed a team of people, or later on when I was actually building something of my own. It was always, the theme was always take care of the people who got you there. Take care of the people who are doing all the heavy lifting around you. And that really has become a central theme in everything that I've done along the way. And it's, as I look at it and I compare it to people we competed with, it has been the factor that's really made the difference. We all have the same access to tools, to technology and AI, and we all put that together in the center. Then we build something around that we call our business, our company. What we're really wrapping around it is a culture of how we treat our customers, how we treat the people who work with and for us. Because you can end up with two very different results. One is the people who drag themselves into work because I need a paycheck on Friday, and I'm going to do what I have to do, but I'm not really going to do anything extra. Or you have the people who come in and they bring their heart and soul to work. And they're not just getting it done, but they're getting it done with this extra level of care. It's the difference between the plumber who tracks footprints all over your house. Yes, he fixes your leak, but you've got a puddle of water you have to mop up. There's some bits and pieces of pipe and solder and metal laying around, and he hands you a bill. Or the guy from the competition. He comes in, before he puts the first foot into your house, he's got shoe covers on. He's really careful about not leaving any footprints, not making any mess. Yes, he fixes your leak, but he mops everything up. He cleans the area where he works, and it sparkles. Yes, he wants to get paid too, so you still get a bill. But who do you want to call the next time? Who put that extra level of care in it? Who do you think is going to get that glowing Google review that says, call ABC Plumbing, and we loved it when Tom or Joe or Mike came out to the house. They were wonderful to work with. So as I look back on the different businesses I built, that really was the differentiator that I brought to it. And we can certainly dive into some of the specific businesses and some of the challenges, because there were some significant challenges. But because of the people, we overcame them and we grew and we excelled.
Definitely. I love that it was early on seeing it modeled by your dad and the businesses that he ran, and that extra mile that he went to, that spirit of excellence that I feel like really was that indicator of that there was something different about it. We have access to the same information. We all have access to the same things. I love the example of like a plumber. There's thousands and thousands of plumbers out there. But what is going to set, maybe there's a plumber watching or listening, and what's going to set him apart from the plumber next door, the other person that someone can call? And it's that little bit of extra excellence that they put into it, not just in the clients, but I also think that I love what you said there, the culture that you build in with those that are in the business as well. And I think that there's so many different ways we can go into this conversation. And I'm curious, when it comes to this idea of success, because I feel like success gets thrown around a ton and it means a lot to a bunch of different people. But I'm curious, because someone who's been in business for over 30 years, what did you believe about success early in your career that you no longer believe now?
I went into it the way I think most people do. I equated success with zeros after my name, a large bank account, because money definitely does buy you a certain level of freedom. I say a certain level because beyond a point, more money doesn't do anything for you. Sure beats having more than enough money to pay your bills than struggling to pay your bills. There's no doubt about that. It is really, at the end of the day, it's only an indicator of success. It's a byproduct if you've lived your life the correct way. Yet I had a goal. I wanted a big bank account, and I certainly did achieve some of that along the way, which it didn't make you happy. It's those relationships with people. It's being able to go and do some of the things that are meaningful to you in life. But it's even more than that. There's another layer beyond that. Because, okay, I've got enough money to pay my bills. I've got enough money to go and travel and see things and do things. But it still, at the end of the day, comes up feeling a bit hollow. It's when you reconnect with people, when you give back and reinvest in the people in the world around you, the community around you. And by that, I mean your time, your knowledge, your expertise, mentoring people, guiding people. There's just something incredibly just rewarding when somebody comes back and says, thank you, you made a difference in my life.
Definitely.
And you don't even oftentimes remember what it was you said in the moment, but you gave them some piece of advice, and it was what they needed to hear in that moment that was a turning point for them. It set them on a path that was a better path than what they were on before. So this is like this next level. And it's more than just saying, I have money so I can write a check to the charity, I can write a check to church. Reinvesting yourself back into the people around you.
Definitely. I love that. What does that look like for you practically?
In the cleaning authority, which is a great example to illustrate multiple points that we just hit on in our last few minutes here. I found it on a business broker website in late March 2020, started talking to the owner in April. If everybody remembers what was going on then, we were into the lockdowns and the pandemic at that point.
For sure.
Because of all of that, it took really until September to actually complete the transaction, buy the business, and be handed the keys. It was at about $1.6 million in revenue. It finished out 2020 at $1.8 million. It had attractive financials. It paid my bills. It supported my family, something I needed because I lost my job with Ultradomus on Friday, May 6th, 2020. But I stepped into a business that had a toxic culture. There was high turnover with the cleaners. I later learned that the managers were so frustrated with things, they were ready to walk out the door. There was high turnover with the customers. As I look back on it now, I think it really is amazing that the previous owner was able to grow it to the size that it was. Shortly after getting there, I just said, stop. We don't treat people that way. We treat them with dignity, with respect. We treat them like complete human beings. Said, stop saying no. Stop saying don't. Tell them what we want from them. Tell them what we need from them. And then show them what the benefits and the rewards are when they deliver that for the customers. It took a number of conversations with the managers where it literally said, the prior owner has left the building. We don't do that anymore. We don't treat people that way. So we tore down all the signs that were saying no and don't and warning of consequences and put up signs that said bonus for this, reward for that, earn points for doing the following things. But we connected the behaviors to what our customers were asking for. So we actually created some alignment from top to bottom between customer, owner, manager, cleaner. Imperfect, yes, but we created this alignment. And then we layered on actual money. When a customer says, you did a good job, $10 on that cleaner's next paycheck. Not end of the month, not end of the quarter, not end of the year, next paycheck. That customer goes to Google and leaves us a positive review. $15 more on your paycheck. Next paycheck. Now they got $25 extra for that hour and a half or 2 hours that they spent in the customer's house. And when the customers who are leaving Google reviews and telling us we did a good job are often tipping, suddenly their hourly wage for cleaning and scrubbing toilets shot up to $50, almost $60 an hour. Where do you get $50 or $60 an hour for scrubbing a toilet? To cleaners who make $500 to $700 a week and see the inside of about 20, 25 houses each week, when you have 3, 4, maybe 5 of them saying good things about it and them getting money, all of a sudden they're getting another $100 or $200 a week. This is meaningful money in the life of these people. It changed the culture in 6 weeks. Of the morning conversations that the managers had with each team, you broke this, you didn't clean that, you forgot to do this, gone. We haven't had a conversation like that in the morning in years. The cleaners come in, they're laughing, they're smiling, they get their equipment, they get their supplies, their papers, and they're out the door. We got on board with it. The transformation with them was pretty amazing because they were originally cleaners themselves. I got to watch them grow from being cleaners to managers. And then as they were managers, they went through several evolutions too. At first, they would come to me and go, Todd, we've got a problem. What do we do? And I would say, we could do this, we could do that, list out a couple of things. We'd talk it through a little bit. I'd pick one and they'd go and implement that solution. The next phase, I could see them grow. This is the reinvesting back into them. They would come and say, Todd, we have a problem. We think that we could do these 2, maybe 3 things to solve it. So then we talk about it. nudge them along to pick what they thought was a good solution. Then eventually we got to where they would come and say, Todd, we had a problem, but we solved it. This is what we did. And now we've reached a point where the only time they tell me there's a problem is when it's something serious, but they've already taken care of it. And it's more a conversation. We think you should know that this happened, but it's already been taken care of. We already resolved it. So they transforming themselves into leaders, not just managers. On from scrubbing toilets to being leaders. They're the ones that picked out the uniforms that they wear. They're the ones who are now deciding what our culture inside the walls of our business should be like and what additional bonuses we should offer. We have 5 managers now, and we've grown to 60 people in total from 14 different countries. So we really live by one of the frameworks that I use in my keynote, one of my keynote speeches, Thriving Workplaces. We created a caring workplace. We made sure it was a positive workplace, and we made sure it was culturally competent. When I say culturally competent, I go beyond just saying, oh, we've got people who are Hispanic, we have people who are African American. No, even if we think about the white Caucasian culture here, there are definitely cultural differences between New England, the Midwest, the South, California. We even have cultural differences. We even use different vocabulary and have different things that are important to us. So culturally competent is much bigger than looking at skin color and ethnicity.
Yeah, definitely.
Really looked at seeing the whole person. Because when you hire somebody, you get the whole package. There's no such thing as just leaving your personal life at the door. People come with families, they come with children, they come with whatever problems they personally have. People's cars break down, their children get sick. But when you give them the space to resolve their own personal problems, what they bring back to the office with you is their heart and their soul, gratitude, and their performance is just so much higher. The level of care that they put into their work is just so much greater. So you say, okay, this sounds really nice. It's really touchy-feely good stuff. And you go, guess what? There's serious, real math behind this because your staff stays longer. You hire and train fewer people. You go through fewer of these learning curves where people are making their mistakes as they're getting used to doing the job. They're seasoned. They do the work faster with fewer mistakes. They can anticipate areas that will be problem areas and avoid the problems before they happen. That results in your customers staying longer. So your staff stays longer. They refer other people to work for you. Your customers stay longer. They refer other people to work for you. Your customers give you free advertising because they give you all these reviews. Number 5, you Google reviews with pictures and text that says, Mike from ABC Company was wonderful. He came out. He took care of us. Love to have him every time. Those type of reviews are gold. Those type of reviews bring more and more business to you as the business owner. So your top line, your revenues go up faster. Your operating expenses go down. That gap in between is profit. That's money in your bank, in your pocket. I can demonstrate this mathematically to anybody who wants to know and wants to dive into it. What are we doing? We're using all the same tools and technology our competitors are. Why? Because they want to use the best of the best that's out in the marketplace. And so do we. But we're layering on this, I'm going to call it an unfair advantage because our people care and our people put more effort into the work that they do. So
That's awesome.
Listening carefully, nowhere in here did I ever say we asked them to do more work.
Yeah.
All we asked them to do was to care when they do their work and gave them a reason to care.
That's awesome.
And all of a sudden, we're beating the competition like crazy.
I love that. And I love how simple that is. And simple in idea, not always is easy in practice. But yeah, that idea of empowering your staff, empowering your team. Because when someone is being micromanaged to the point where, like you said, I love that key that they came to you about the issue, but they had already resolved the issue. And that already, to me, just hearing that sounds like healthy culture. And you touched on it a little bit, but I love this concept of healthy and toxic culture within an organization. I'd be curious to kind of hear some of those things that you've noticed that kind of stood out in a culture that wasn't healthy, a toxic culture, compared to those healthy cultures like you've been building in your business.
A number of things. Early on, when I was in my first few jobs after I got out of school, I got into a couple of organizations, looked good from the outside. I landed in a group where it just had really high turnover. The manager was just riding the people in the group nonstop. Everything was always their fault. God forbid you were a minute or two late arriving at your desk in the morning, or you were away from your desk too long at lunchtime, or you left a moment or two too early. And one manager was writing it down in this big calendar pad that she had on her desk, which now that we're so automated, I haven't seen things like that on a desk in a long time. And name and Todd arrived at 8:35. He's supposed to be here at 8:30. And you just want to say, what's more important? Did the work get done? Or was it more important to arrive exactly at 8:30? When things happen, there's traffic. Some days people aren't feeling as well as on other days, and they're moving a little slower. But did the work get done? And was it done well? What's the real thing that matters here? But no, if you decide you don't like somebody and you want to build a case with HR and all the appropriate paperwork that HR is going to tell you that you need, you're going to say, oh, they're late, they take long lunches, they leave early. If you leave out the part that, well, guess what? The work got done. Other toxic environments they just tolerate bad behavior from people. They allow people to make just rude comments about each other, inappropriate joking about each other. There's always some commenting and teasing and stuff that goes on among team members. But there's a point where it crosses a line and it becomes abusive. And they start actually putting people down, picking on people. Those environments are toxic. It's really incumbent on the person in charge to maintain an appropriate culture and to shut down that type of behavior. When they don't, they're allowing the culture to spin into a toxic place. And you're going to see it in turnover. You're going to see it in loss of productivity. And then we get to a third type of organization. I've been in this type too a couple of times. They expect you to get it done no matter what it takes. And I've worked at organizations where people came in at 7:30 in the morning and were still there at 8, 9, and 10 o'clock at night, regularly. Not just, oh, it's a crunch, this is a big project, we promised this client this, please help us get it done and meet the deadline, and then we're going back to normal work hours. No, this was all the time. I watched people come through the door excited to be there. They were just fired up because they were hired, and within a week, they had this deer in the headlight look. Oh my God, what did I get myself into? Oftentimes they were gone within 6 months. I sat on a larger open floor next to groups that had 80, 90, and 100% turnover every single year. They were rehiring the entire group every year. It's just crazy insane. You're always starting all over fresh. You're always treating everybody fresh. You're always making the same mistakes. You're always going through that learning curve over and over again because you're working them to death. And they had promised the clients that they could meet unrealistic goals. And they were just, the top of the organization was just so hungry to grow. It was grow at any cost. And the cost was this human cost. ultimately it affects their reputation. So we really get to really the important thing, and this tone at the top. So you as a leader of your group, you as a leader of your organization, your company, are the one who sets the tone. You decide what type of organization do you want to be. And then that flows downward through the organization. So you decide if you want to be a caring organization, and do you want people to bring their heart to work, or do you want people to just drag themselves into work because they're living for that paycheck on Friday, and who knows if they aren't busy looking for their next job at lunchtime and in their spare time.
That's so tough. And I feel like I've been on the receiving end sometimes when I was growing up in various places where I was working as the employee, as I was making my way to what I do now. And I can definitely attest to, I've seen it done poorly and I've seen it done well. And I'd be curious, when you've looked at some of these leaders of these businesses and you've consulted with them to help build better culture, is there any aspect of their life where you have to tell them, look, it starts with you and where you're at? Because obviously, you, like you said, you mentioned the guys that are at the top, and all they can see is growth, scale, and they almost get so blinded by that aspect that everything else, they're willing to crush the people working for them underneath it to make it happen. And I'm curious, have you ever been in those situations with your consulting where you've had to have those hard conversations with those leaders? And how have you been able to help them see this is not working? It may feel like it's working because you're seeing it from maybe a financial growth or a scaling growth, but the culture is just in shambles. How have you been able to navigate and consult around that?
People come in all varieties. So it's not an either or. It's more of a sliding scale. And people are somewhere on this scale where they're more blinded by it or they're more self-aware. Those, if you had to say what are the bookends on that scale, right, those might be the bookends. So the people who are somewhere in the middle, when an outside observer tells them what's happening, are more attuned to it. They're more open to going, oh, you know what? You're right. You really make a good point there. The people who are closer to that end where you think everybody else is the problem are definitely challenging cases. My approach is to start gently with them and to point things out gently, and then to gradually take it up a notch each time. I'm not the type to walk up to them and use the old analogy, hit them between the eyes with a 2x4. If I haven't tried just about everything else, just say, hey, look, some of the things you're doing and saying is creating the problems that you want help solving. So think of it this way. If you're somebody who goes through life and you hear yourself saying, what's the matter with people these days? Nobody wants to work. Where are all the good employees? Why can't I find any good employees? You might be closer to that end. Because the truth is that people are people, and people in general are willing to work and they respond. You will be amazed, actually, how they respond to somebody who cares about them and somebody who has a positive workplace. Because it's really true. Most people don't leave organizations. They leave bad bosses.
That's so real. And even as we talk, I can think of that. And I'm curious, because now in the other shoes, I try to look at it as, what are some of the ways that you've seen that works in your own business or even those that you've consulted? People need to know you care, especially those that you're leading. And sometimes people could try to say they care. Like I've had some leadership that I've been under before, and it's like you can feel the fact that they're doing this because they feel like they have to. You probably know what I mean. They're like trying to make the small talk or asking you about personal things. And I think of that not just from being in that shoe, but also being in the leadership shoe. Is I'd be curious kind of when it comes to really cultivating that culture, what has been some of those standouts that have been doing it well? And what does that look like?
What really works, and let's use, since we talked about the cleaning company, let's go back to that example. We changed the language. We stopped saying don't and we stopped saying no. And we started saying do this, then you get this bonus. Do this. And when when you achieve this result, then you get a reward. We tied those to what we promised our customers. So it wasn't just show up and get a bonus. It was when you deliver a good clean to a customer and they say it was a good clean, you get rewarded. And by the way, when you do the following things, you will deliver a good clean. Here, we retrain people, but we don't call it that. We actually call it how to earn more. Because when you do these things, then the customers respond positively and you get bonuses. Our world is full of a lot of talk. We'll largely tune that out. And you put real rewards behind it. And it doesn't have to be a big, long speech. Even just something as simple as, that was a great job. Thank you. Here's a bonus. That money it puts that exclamation point behind what you said. It's, I'm telling you did a good job, and I'm handing you something you can touch and feel by way of saying thank you. So I tell people about these bonuses, and there's a tendency to react and go, oh, that sounds so expensive. And I say, actually, it's not. The bonuses cost so much less than the rework costs, than hiring new people and training them costs, than having new people make all the new people mistakes cost. Our operating expenses have dropped every single year since I took over. Our operating expenses are down over 8%. And we're doing over $4 million a year. 8% on $4 million is an additional $320,000. So if you're sitting out there and you're listening to this and you don't know what to do with $320,000, I'll help you out. And I'm pretty sure Red here will help you out too.
Pretty sure.
That's how real the math is. There's reasons to really care about this and do it.
Definitely. That's so good. And even as you say that, I can't help but think of that idea of the world of the generous grows and expands, and the world of the stingy gets smaller and smaller. And that's a paraphrase of a Bible verse that always stuck with me. But to bring that concept of, I feel like a lot of times business owners are in the space of, that's going to cost me. But you'll be so surprised how when you hold the thing with an open hand, how much more will come back to you. Now, just kind of thinking of that concept and just thinking of everything we've discussed today, kind of zeroing back into the leader themselves. What would you say to that leader who has built something impressive, but privately they know that they're losing themselves in the process?
There's a wonderful book out there that's actually a fast read, and it's been out for a long time. Randy Commissar wrote The Monk in the Riddle, and the whole book really talks about living your life two different ways. One way is, I'm going to do all this today that I have to, make money, build my bank account, then later I'm going to enjoy myself. And he gives all the reasons why that philosophy doesn't work. Because number one, there's no guarantee that tomorrow is going to come. There's no guarantee that when tomorrow comes that we'll be healthy enough or we'll still have the money or the situation in the family or in the world around us will let us do what we want to do. He advocates for the second approach, is to really do what fills you up and what brings you joy on a daily basis, because then it stops feeling like work. And when you look back on your life, you don't have regret.
I think that message could be said to so many people. Like I think of a person in particular, which again, this is a bit of a tangent, but it applies, is I think that for a lot of people, if they're not careful, they'll get into this space where they almost feel like they have to do something because it's like you said, like they have to do the thing that's going to get them the money that they think that they need to acquire. But then there's a part of them that would very much be way more satisfied and fulfilled if they were going this other path. That, yeah, they might not be extremely wealthy like they think that they need to be, but they would be so happy and fulfilled and find full joy and purpose. And that's a thought in itself that I think that a lot of people don't take the time to sit with. But I think it's incredibly profound. Now, as we kind of start to land the plane. I want to be mindful of all of our times here. Where can people find you? You mentioned a tiny bit about the consulting, but I'd love to hear more. Kind of if someone's listening to you speak and they're like, wow, this Todd guy, he's got some things figured out. I'd love to reach out to him. Where can they find you?
These days, in addition to running the cleaning company, I've expanded into a new venture, Silver Sun Consulting. I'm taking the message that we talked about out to a broader audience. I'm doing it two ways, from the stage, through public speaking, and on a more one-to-one or one-to-small group level, working with individual business owners, organization leaders, and their management teams directly. You can find me and information about me at www.silversun, that's S-U-N, consulting.com. If you go to the About page, my email address is there. There's also a phone number there. That phone number will ring right here on my personal cell phone. I look forward to talking with you and guiding you and your next venture in life.
Definitely. Man, I love that, Todd, and I appreciate you sharing some of the wealth of, I feel like you got a deep well of knowledge, and more so not just business, but there's a depth to you, and I appreciate you for sharing just a small piece of your story today. And yeah, if you're listening and watching, definitely be sure to reach out to Todd if what he's saying is speaking to you. And I look forward to having more conversations on and off the camera with you, Todd. And again, I appreciate you for sharing your wisdom. Now, before we do close out, as always, I want to make sure, is there any final words, final thoughts that we might have missed in the conversation that you would like to share with the people watching and listening now?
To all of you who have a leadership role, you have the amazing good fortune to be in a position to influence the lives of the people around you. That is just so profound, the impact that you can have. I wish all of you the best in your leadership and making a difference in the lives of the people who look up to you and who depend on you on a daily basis. So go out there and make that difference.
Amen. I love it, Todd. Man, I appreciate you. And again, you guys watching, listening, definitely check out Todd. And if you want to go deeper with what we're building here at the Better Than Best Academy, definitely check out that link below that we have for our school community, which is a community of people, like-minded people like Todd and myself, that are getting in there and just walking this journey together. Because if there's anything I've learned in my short span of things, is the stage is valuable. Like Todd's talking, like a public speaking moment is valuable. You can be in the audience and something can draw you and motivate you to wake up, but it's around the table. It's in those one-on-one, those smaller settings that you truly get to connect with the person, glean from a person, and get an action plan to really take the steps it takes to do exactly what you've been called and created to do. But as always, I love to end with this. I'm praying for you, friends. I love you. Now let's go live better than best as we conquer this week, and I'll see you in the next episode. Peace.